We have created illusions to justify where we're at, basically,
To try
So
to make
I'm-
ourselves comfortable in where we are and not wanting to change or not needing to
Instead of change or hearing what real truth I need to know to be able to make the journey toward, I just accept this is it. This is good enough. This is how it is. And that's a self-defeating philosophy.
Hey there, this is Ruben from the Breaking Trail podcast. This is where you learn to navigate life's journey through ancient wisdom. And the journey of life requires us to understand what life actually means. So in today's talk, you'll have a solid understanding of how you can actually live a life that makes you feel truly alive. So I'm really happy to have you here, and I know that this will be very useful for you. Let's begin. Well, what would be your signature drink?
What would be my signature drink?
Yes.
Yvonne chai tea.
I see. Yvonne chai tea.
From the hills behind me.
Specially fermented
picked on location. Yes. With a little pine pollen floating on top.
We're going to start on the topic of life. Okay, that's a topic that we've been discussing around it, and we've mentioned it in brief. But I wanted us to maybe go into a more in-depth discussion of what life actually is, which is a question that scientists not even have a clear definition to. I was Googling around and I found that basically actually there is currently no consensus regarding the definition of life. That's what it says on Wikipedia. And I read full articles where they were discussing different ways to define life. In some definitions, you would even classify snowflake of being life.
Really?
Yep.
Well, yeah, I guess you can put your label life on anything.
Yeah.
Some people think whatever gives me pleasure is life.
Not like that.
Oh, this is my life. Surfing is my life, or this new girlfriend is my life, or, my passion, whatever it is directed toward is my life. I mean, you just throw that word around, kind of like love.
I was just going to say that, because people say the same. I love going out surfing. I love the ocean.
Yeah. But there's a difference in love, and it's my life. It's like, that's my existence. That's my life, I remember one time a friend of mine, I was living in where I home base still, but very rarely there, Crested Butte, Colorado. And it's a high elevation little mountain town. There's a ski resort there. There's one of the two places on the planet where mountain biking actually started. And everybody in the town's an outdoor athlete. Everybody. I mean, you don't live there if you're not. There's no reason to live there. It's like 3,000 people. It's 9 to 10 months of winter. It's like, there's no conveniences compared to a city. There's no stoplights. There's no fast food restaurants.
Nothing exciting for the ordinary man. Just
except a few bars you could go and just feel your passion of an alcoholic or something. But I mean, really, the reason to live there is the mountains, to ski, to mountain bike, to hike, to climb. And, in the close proximity, there's whitewater rafting and et cetera, fishing and hunting and whatever.
Wow.
So anyway, I was a friend of mine. He was one of the original personalities in mountain biking. He developed a lot of the trails around there, and he's in the Mountain Bike Hall of Fame, and et cetera, et cetera. And I was living with him. And so we were one time the subject of another resident of town. His name is Dave. And, he's deep into, big stuff. I mean, he's physically just absolutely fit. he's climbed some 7,000, 8,000 meter peaks in Himalayas. And I mean, he's on this level, you know. And so his name came up, and I said something about, we had just gone on a ride, and he was a part of it. It was a group ride to celebrate. Anyway, it's a long story. I won't get too deep. But anyway, I said, yeah, Dave was there, and, you know, he showed up, and he said, yeah, but he's not really a mountain biker. I said, he's not? I said, wow, he rides pretty good, man. And I mean, he's so strong, he can just climb up anything and whatever. You know, he said, no, he's not really a mountain biker, man. I said, why he's not? He said, because he doesn't lay in bed at night and look at his bike.
That's the definition.
I mean, that's where you're deep, you know. Yeah, he goes mountain biking, but he also runs, and he also goes to the Himalayas. And he's not like really totally all in on mountain biking.
That's all in. I mean, that's a strict definition. That must be like a really outdoorsy town if that's like the extent that you gotta go to be really into something.
Yeah. So that's kind of like the idea. This is my life, you know. You know, his life is all over the place, kind of thing. You know, but my life is this. And I remember when I surfed, you know, I could probably say the same. That was my life. That's the reason I got up in the morning.
Just going to ask, yeah.
You know, and I can remember going to bed at night and wanting to hurry up and go to sleep so I could hurry up and get up.
Oh, really? And keep surfing.
And go surfing.
Oh, wow.
You know. So, you know, but anyway, the idea is it's loosely used and it's not really defining what life is.
It's more like an interest. It's more like something that you just totally into.
Well, it gives you a reason to be, you know. And a lot of people say, I have no life because they don't really have that passion for something.
That's true.
You know, it's like they don't really have anything that really motivates them and drives them and consumes them.
And that's, people say that like an insult as well. Like, man, you have no life. Like, get a life.
You know? Yeah, get a life means get something that's involving you. Leave me alone. You know, usually that get a life thing is when somebody's hassling you in one way or another. And you say, just get a life, man. Be happy, be satisfied, and just get out of my life.
So I can become satisfied because you're disturbed.
Yeah. So, but anyway, again, as always, we're speaking from the platform of Bhakti Yoga and the Vedic knowledge that we have studied and acquired a small portion of over many years. And it defines life as our very existence, you know. And there's two categories of energy. And energy is a big subject now among people. Everybody talking about, oh, do you feel the energy? I'm into the energy, or, you know, it's got good energy or bad energy or whatever. Energy is a word that's used often.
Or everything is energy, or I hear that a lot.
Yeah. And God is energy or whatever. So anyway, there's two categories of energy, and it's true. Everything is energy. Everything. There's nothing that's not energy. And the two categories are material energy, which is the whole material creation, you know, and there's various divisions of that, but the whole overall category is material energy. And the other category is spiritual energy. And they're very different. They're very different in character and quality and symptoms and so on. So since everybody is immersed in the material world and surrounded by material energy, let's refer to that one first. Material energy is characterized by a temporary nature. So everything in this world is temporary, including the material creation itself.
Kind of like has a beginning and has an end.
had a beginning. And it's also stated that everything that has a beginning also has an end.
Makes sense.
If it had a beginning, it also has an end. So, material energy is temporary in its manifestation, but on the deeper understanding, really material energy is eternal as well. It's not temporary, but it's temporarily manifested. So during the manifested stage, that manifestation is temporary.
And then it kind of re-manifests again and again, kind of like the universe is... I mean, someone says like the universe is expanding, it's going to contract, and it's going to be a big bang, and then it's going to expand again and contract. And I don't know if that's...
Well, that's, the real understanding is it comes into being. In other words, it becomes manifest. The material energy, which has been unmanifested in a dormant condition within the Supreme Lord, becomes manifested, by the will of the Lord. And then we have this material creation. And it lasts a certain length of time, which is on our time scale unbelievably long, but it's long. But eventually that time period expires. And then it is a dissolution. The non-manifested stage occurs. This material world is, destroyed, however you want to look at it. And then it's remaining in an unmanifested condition.
It's kind of
so it comes and goes. Just like our material body is material energy. And it comes into being at a certain point. It lasts for some time. Let's take it a little bit back. It comes into being, it grows. It lasts for a certain length of time, produces some byproducts, dwindles, and vanishes. And you can see that whether it's a human body or any body, a tree or any of the animal species or whatever, that's the same.
And then that matter goes again to create new bodies, basically.
And I remember learning in physics in school that matter is never created nor destroyed. It just changes form. Well, that's not really correct, but it's kind of got the same, idea. It's always been, and it always will be in one stage or another, manifested or unmanifested.
That's true.
But the next point about matter is it's non-living. There's no life in matter. So, again, look at our material body. As soon as death occurs, there's no life there. The life has disappeared. And now it's just matter like it always has been, but because it has this symptom of life, then it was called, the body's alive. The body's not alive. The body's always dead, you see. So let's go back over to the other category of energy, spiritual energy. And spiritual energy is the opposite of material energy. Material energy is temporary. Spiritual energy is eternal. See? Material energy is non-living. Spiritual energy is life itself. There is no such thing as live matter, and there's no such thing as dead spirit. So back to the original concept that we've presented several times, we are a tiny spiritual spark of spiritual energy.
Or life.
Or life itself. We are the life in the body. We're minute in size. It describes, in the Vedic literature that we're, atomic in size. And then it even gives more details if one wanted to go into that. The size of us, is if you take a hair, a human hair, and you divide it into 100 portions from the tip into 100 portions, and you take one of those and discard the other 99, and then you divide that into 100 portions, So now you've got 1/10,000th of the original
tip of the
hair. And then you turn it on its end and look at the tip. And that's the size of the soul. That's the size of us. That's how big we are. That's why I describe the soul as immeasurable. Because, you know, you can't measure something that's small. It can be described in the Vedic literature because this is handed down absolute knowledge. But if you went out there with your tape measure and tried to measure it, you couldn't even see it, much less do it.
So it's not really detectable by, like ordinary ways to detect things like microscopes and all of these.
Yeah, it's too small. You know. And another undetectable feature is you can't see it with the material senses. You know, you can't see spirit with the material eyes.
And that's, I think, like a key area where we have to understand that we can't really trust what we see only with our eyes. I mean, only like look at the magicians. They do things and they trick your eyes and you really think that what they're doing is real, but it's all fake. Like we think what's real is what our senses take in, and that's it. That's like the whole deal.
Yeah. And what we can't experience with our senses, we reject as not being true.
Yeah.
So here we are. We've got this tiny spiritual spark known as a spirit soul. And another point to understand is that that individual particle of spirit that we are is eternal. It never changes. I don't become someone else. You know, sometimes people talk about, oh, he's an old soul.
Yeah.
You see, or he's such a big soul, or a small soul, or whatever. In other words, they put sizes and ages on that which is eternal and never changes. See, that's why it's also described as changeless. See, so that's the life in the material world. All these spiritual sparks which inhabit various forms of matter are the life of the material world. And that's what, you know, gives the world life. I mean, I see the forest behind you.
Yeah.
And, you know, there's a spirit soul in each one of those living trees. There may be some dead trees out there. See, that means that spiritual person has left that particular body, and now it's just a dead tree. And as we know, it doesn't last very long at that stage.
That's true. The decomposing and all this.
It decays, and the bugs and the other, you know, things that feed on that tree after the funguses and so on. The birds come and, you know, peck it to get the worms that have, invaded it and so on. And then quickly, it just falls down and deteriorates completely, rots, as they say. It's a rotten tree.
Yeah.
And then it goes back to the dirt.
Well, so that's a different way of seeing. Like even if you, I mean, I took a quote here from some article they were writing about life, and they said that life is living matter, and it said that life is matter that shows certain attributes that include responsiveness, growth, metabolism, energy, transformation, and reproduction. And they say that the word life might be better as a verb to reflect this essential status as a process. So they...
Yeah, but what is that life, and what happens to that life to make the tree die? In other words, at what point does that life quit being life?
Exactly.
When does it quit living?
Exactly.
and what caused that? And where did that go, or what happened to it?
Yeah.
You know, so it's vague. It's like some understanding, but not a full picture.
That's true.
You know, that tree or whatever the organism is that's displaying those qualities, it's because there's that spiritual person inside that particular matter, form, body. etc.
That gives rise to the symptoms that were mentioned.
Yeah. So the symptoms of life of the soul are displayed in different ways in different organisms. Like in a human, it's displayed, in many ways that the tree can't display. Yeah. In speech, in advanced sense perception, in an advanced mental facility where I can think about these things. Mm-hmm. That tree is not able to contemplate, who am I?
No.
Or, gee, my fellow tree something happened. What happened to that guy? We were here for so long together, and all of a sudden, now it's just not the same guy I knew. And then it falls over and disappears. The tree doesn't do that. This is the point. Because the body it's in doesn't award it that facility.
Right.
So it displays life in different ways. It grows leaves. It bears, certain fruits, or, it has periods of the year when sap rises in it, and periods of the year when the sap goes down, and, a root system that spreads around, and things that, as humans, we don't have that. See? So different symptoms of life, which means activity, which means a functioning group of matter or a hunk of matter, takes place because that person's inside there.
So in a sense, from what I was reading, it makes sense, but it just explains it better, because once there is responsiveness, growth, metabolism, energy transformation, or reproduction, you can say with quite high probability that there is a spirit soul inside that body, right?
Not high probability, absolutely true. Without the soul, those things do not take place. They don't take place. You can make a mannequin that's such an exact replica of a living human that you couldn't tell it apart, except it doesn't grow, it can't replicate, it doesn't reproduce, and of course you can stick a computer in there and program it, and it can do lifelike things.
Yeah.
It's interesting in Canada, some guys made a computer that looked like a human, but not really, kind of like a robot-type looking guy, But they programmed it in such a way, it was all computerized, of course. Mm-hmm. They can program it in such a way so it would respond to certain situations in a certain way. Mm-hmm. They put this guy out on the side of the road to hitchhike across Canada from the East Coast to the West Coast.
Wow.
And so here's this little robot-looking funny guy, and it was programmed to hail a car. Hey, I need a ride, mate. And the cars would stop, and, somebody, and it would say, hi, I'm going to Vancouver, and can you give me a lift?
Yeah.
And the guys would go, yeah, sure. It was kind of like, so they put it in the car and take it wherever they let it out. Maybe they take it home and spend the night. And it was programmed to communicate it to on a certain level, and then the next day they'd put it out on the side of the road and it would go further, and it made it all the way across Canada. And you could say, well, this was life. This was the same thing. It wasn't the same thing, because a real life programmed this whole scenario so it could take place.
Yeah, so there's...
there was a real, person with a, active brain and intelligence and ability to create this,
Mm-hmm.
And that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to make artificial intelligence, which has the same exact things as real, people.
Yeah.
And therefore, maybe eliminate real people to some or a large degree. We don't need them anymore.
Yeah, easy to control them.
We can control these, but then other people warn that the artificial intelligence creations can get out of control.
Yeah.
And take over, like the sci-fi movie.
Yeah, like Terminator.
Whatever, So,
but that's a bit.
But anyway, go ahead.
No, that's a bit exaggerated scenario. I mean, I think just like, I mean, that's not the main problem with artificial intelligence. Like that, it's going to be Terminators taking over in the first.
No. But one of the ideas, that has been put forth, is that they don't really have, this sensitivity. They don't have compassion. They don't have the qualities of mercy. They don't have that love, either potential or real. In other words, these are human qualities, as we call them, although they're displayed in animals as well, that you can't create in the laboratory. It's like, in other words, you could say they don't have a soul.
Yeah.
Which is the living entity, and they can't, come to know and love the supreme soul because, that's not part of their ability, and so, they can't decide what to do and what not to do because it's right and wrong from a moral, spiritual, internal message level.
But that is the core of the problem, isn't it? That if we allow more artificial intelligence into like social media like we have nowadays, then those values are not inherently a part of the design of how this intelligence is trying to steer the wheel. It just becomes like those qualities, those good qualities just become like, they're not a natural part of it. They're not part of the equation. They don't matter. It's just optimizing the clicks and getting, people to.
Yeah, and so those qualities which make life real are being, consciously removed. Wow. So it becomes more of a mechanical, arrangement.
Yeah.
And then you lose life. See, because life is ourself, And so the qualities of life in our scripture we study in Bhakti Yoga, as you know, Bhagavad Gita, there's a whole list of qualities, they're called divine qualities, that are, the qualities that make life, as we will say, perfect. Because it produces ultimate happiness, ultimate love, ultimate satisfaction, and an ultimate connection on a real level, a reawakening of the lost relationship with the Supreme Soul. So if you remove that, which is being done, in one way or another, it doesn't have to be artificial intelligence to do it. We just cover those qualities up, with, as we've spoken before about the modes of nature, the mode of passion and ignorance actually covers up those goodness and pure goodness qualities. And, then you have to replace it greed and lust and anger and, avarice and jealousy and enviousness and,
Which many people say is a natural part of, like, that's almost saying that is like how we are by nature. We have those qualities. That's what you hear,
No, that's how we are by nature if we're materially contaminated. See, that our true nature of the soul is contaminated with, this lust and false ego we've referred to before. And that is the result of that contamination. It's just like you could say, sickness is just how we are. It's natural for the body.
Well,
if everybody's sick, and everybody's weak and everybody's, got headaches and so on, it's just normal. It's natural. That's just how we are. If you never knew health and you had a whole society of individuals who never knew health, free of all these symptoms of sickness, you just conclude, well, that's just not normal. It's not anything unusual. That's, and somebody starts talking about health and you say, come on, be realistic. It's our nature to be sick.
Well, that's
You
exactly
know?
how it is. I mean, it's gotten to that level, you know?
I know, and that's how they justify it. But does the sickness of the body, for instance, since we were on that subject,
Yeah.
does it make you happy? Does it make you feel good? You know, does it give you enlivenment? You know,
Does it make you feel alive? No.
Yeah, you feel dead, and you know, it's just we have created illusions to justify where we're at.
Exactly.
Basically.
Exactly.
You know.
To try
So
to make ourselves comfortable in where we are and not wanting to change or not needing to change.
Instead of change or hearing what real truth I need to know to be able to make the journey toward, I just accept this is it. This is good enough. This is how it is. And that's a self-defeating philosophy.
You know, I don't maybe agree with that fully, but like what I'm going to say right now, but there's a book called Happiness is a Serious Problem. And I guess he made that title because it's kind of catchy and you know, what happiness is a problem. But his idea is that like our being content with not being actually fully 100% happy and feeling life basically is a problem. Like our contentment of just like having good enough. You know, not striving for the real thing.
Well, yeah, if you don't, you know, it's a problem if you're trying to achieve it and you're not being successful, then that's the problem. Just be miserable and be good with that.
Exactly.
You know, just join the club, man. You know, I'm miserable, you're miserable, and yeah, it's cool. But it's not cool, and it's not because we know inside that's not correct. You know, I mean, one of the symptoms of, not the symptoms, but one of the survival qualities, I can say, of the human is they can adapt to anything.
Yeah.
You know, say you have a tooth that all of a sudden out of nowhere starts hurting, you know, but for some reason you don't get it fixed. And it continues to hurt. But eventually, over time, you kind of just get okay with that. Yeah. It's just almost become normal. Yeah. Do you like it? No. But is it really bothering you like it used to? No, it's not. Because I've kind of adjusted to it. I've adapted to it. Yeah. You know, and it's like, hey, you know. So we can adapt to anything. So does that mean it's good to do so? Would it be better to fix the tooth? You know, because that tooth decay actually affects not only that tooth and the nerves in it, but it spreads throughout the body and has all kind of adverse effects on, you know, the immune system and organs and whatever. You see, it's more than just that immediate tooth and pain. So is it better to fix the tooth? Yeah. But if you just don't do it, then you just... things get worse.
There was a lady who told me this morning I'm doing this yoga for business, like based online, and she said that she had like really bad issues. Is that what it's called when you have the issues?
Bad what?
Sciatica.
Oh, sciatica. Yeah, sciatica.
So she had like she was in so much pain, but she came to my yoga and started like doing yoga, and she said she was so happy that she could now like go through it instead of what she had done with the pain was like taking a step back and like not being in her body at all, not being present in that, just like trying to just put a tap on it, you know, just like forget it, don't think about it, and the pain would eventually go a little bit better, like you say, because you don't really, doesn't bother you that much. But she was starting to do yoga and she really appreciated it, that she could like really come back to it and deal with it actually, because just like in hatha, I mean, now I'm speaking about hatha yoga, which are a combination of physical techniques and pranayama breathing techniques to help you have a more healthy body and mind, basically. But that's
yeah
just
yeah. So you know, it's two sides to this story. One is you have to be very tolerant in the material world because there are so many things that cause us pain and suffering. You know, and so you have to develop a tolerance to the imperfect situation that we're in. And that includes the body. I mean, we have to tolerate many things that happen in the body.
Yeah.
You know, and if you can't tolerate it, it drives you crazy. Yeah. You know. So, you know, we have to be tolerant, but at the same time understand this is the material world, and that's the nature of the material world. And it is the nature of the material world. You know, it's suffering and hardship. It's temporary, you know, and there's all this, you know, complex karma that we have that's going to bring to us certain reactions. You know, some may be favorable, you know, or good, you can say, and some may be, you know, very unfavorable and cause us a lot of pain and suffering. And you know,
some would call it a very pessimistic life view. You know, I'm just like,
you know, you know, there's optimism, there's pessimism, and then there's reality.
Yeah.
You know, so the optimist is the person who's kind of not in reality. He's thinking, look at everything from a positive angle, you know. And there's the person who's always negative and looks at everything from the negative angle.
Yeah.
See? But the real vision should be, what's the reality here? You know, that's where we should be. Not positive, not negative. It is what it is, but is it good, you know, for me materially? Is it good for me spiritually? You know, can I do anything about it to improve it? You know, it's just reality, you know. And if we can fix something, then fix it. Yeah. You know, if we can improve something, then improve it. Yeah. You know? And that's the nature of us anyway, trying to improve life, back to life. Yeah, that's where we started. Improve our existence. And life includes our experience of our existence. So in the material world, we're experiencing, you know, through what? Our mind, our intelligence, our senses, the material world. And, you know, we get so wrapped up in that we identify with our body and our mind, you know, and we think that's all life is, you know. And so that's where we place all our focus, you know, making, quote, life as pleasurable as possible and eliminating as much pain as possible.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why we have all these creature comforts that have been, you know, invented and developed over the last, especially 50, 60, 70 years, you know, to make life easier. Yeah. You know, you used to have to go out in the field and dig the earth with a shovel and a hoe, you know, and a rake. Now you got a tractor. Why did you have a tractor? Make it easier.
Yeah.
You see? And, you know, why have a chainsaw to cut down a tree when you used to have an old handsaw and saw it down back and forth, and it took a long time and a lot more effort. Yeah. Chainsaw, zoop.
Yeah.
Why did they make a chainsaw? To make life easier. Yeah. See? So we're always trying to make life easier, but life is seen as our physical situation.
Well, yeah, because even though you cut down the tree faster now, you instead cut 10 trees instead of 1 tree a day. You know?
It's like, but if you're selling trees, that's more money.
Yeah, but you don't end up with more money now than you did before, I think. We don't. You know, someone else takes the money. Your boss takes the money.
Yeah. And everything costs more.
Yeah.
You know, I can remember when 50 cents would buy enough gas in my old car to drive a long ways, because gas was 13 cents a gallon. You know, that's 4 liters. You know, so
it's like 1 Norwegian krone, and everyone is in Norway. For everyone is Norway-ish. Wow. For 4 liters?
So, 4 liters. Yeah. I could not put $3 of gas in my car. It wouldn't hold it. It'd run out on the ground. Wow. You know.
So I'm neighbor with a dog sledding So people have dog sleds, and the dogs are apparently quite annoyed now. So I need to close the window
Oh,
because I hear
okay.
a lot of background noise here. Just give me 1 second.
Okay.
I was thinking it was grumpy, maybe.
Yeah. Okay. So I can tell you.
But the dogs were they were just talking.
They were not annoyed at
time.
all. They were really,
Yeah.
really happy because the owner is taking them out for a ride right now. So they were so excited.
Yeah, see, their life, that's their life.
Yeah.
That's their moment of happiness when they get to
Exactly.
run in the snow and
Exactly.
pull a sled.
And they just long for that one period. He only does it like in the weekends because they have this hut up here in the weekends. And in the week they're in town and working and stuff. So the dogs only get to do this in the weekends. So this is their life, really, like you say. It's like
So it's the same idea, whether you're in a dog body or a human body. What gives you pleasure? What is it that you can do that makes you excited? And gives you some juice.
Exactly. Makes you feel purpose and fulfillment.
That's what everybody's looking for, That's why maybe a new relationship gives you new life because the old one had become stale and, the new one has big promises for pleasure. And on it goes. And as the body gets older, of course, which is inevitable, and our senses are less able to enjoy. And, the things that used to give us life are no longer accessible and so on. And we start feeling lifeless.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be that. Like if I've invested my life in another person and they, for whatever reason, decide to leave me. Then I've heard it how many times? I'm lifeless. I have no reason to live. Whether it was the person that I invested my life in died, left their body, or they went off with another person, that promised them more happiness than they were getting from me, then the feeling is emptiness, a vacuum. I have no reason to live.
Exactly.
See, there's no excitement, in my life.
And that,
so life is like that. It's because the nature of the soul is to be happy and joyful and fulfilled and satisfied, And that's not going to go away because that's our eternal nature. That's not going to stop. The person in the old body, which has lost all facility to, enjoy many in all the different ways, still has that need and desire. They just don't have the machine that can perform that anymore, And then the mind starts going and, everything starts closing down by nature's arrangement. I mean, physical bodies are temporary and they all come to an end. And, then things just start fading away,
And you get more and more frustrated because you can't.
And more frustrated. And
what used to bring you happiness can no longer do it. Like your sexual organs start.
So they have to just readjust. Like I said, the humans can adjust to basically anything. Or like a person in the young stage of life, the prime of his body.
Yeah.
But he's a skier, and he's not only a skier, but he's very advanced in the park terrain, flips and all this. He comes up short on a jump, breaks his spine, and he's paralyzed for life. Now, it happens all the time. I mean, that's just nothing unusual, whether it's in sports or in war or car accidents or whatever. Happens all the time. So he's got one of two directions to go. He's got to just go crazy, basically, or he's got to just completely reprogram everything in his head.
Exactly.
He's got to adjust to his new reality.
Yeah.
He can see it as such a negative. I can't do this. I can't do that. Become completely, depressed and, turn to alcohol or drugs or whatever, try to just bore it out. Or he can just adjust to the new reality.
Yeah.
It used to be like this. Now it's like that.
Yeah.
So let's just get on with life, so to speak, with what we have to work with.
And then that reminds me of my cousin, actually. He is like, well, now he's such an inspirational speaker and adventurer, but when he was 8, he got, I can't remember what cancer he got first, but he got 2 kinds of cancer when he was young, like 8, and then he got again at 11 or something. And so many that at his age, and so many that happens to you, just kind of like give up. Like I guess you feel like a victim. You feel like I didn't deserve this, and now I'm just like suffering as a victim. But he was really, just full on took. I mean, he was into Paralympics, and he's climbed the highest mountain in Sweden without legs, like dragging himself up to the highest peak in Sweden, and things like that. Just like really, really inspire and trying to show others. Now he's living from like seminars where he's speaking to people on inspiration, and just that's the thing. Like you have sort of, it's, I don't know what it is, but some people seem to have that kind of like spark. They just, and I'm not saying, obviously he's maybe not right in everything he's doing, but at least he has that spark. He's not satisfied with just like, and again, like good enough, but he sees like life is so much more, and he wants to give that to others. He wants to help others that have been in that situation too as well. Like, go around.
He's inspired.
Yeah.
And his focus is now on other people and helping them get through whatever obstacles and hurdles that they've got to go through.
Totally.
Their difficult times, and so that's good. But all these material solutions are not really the ultimate answer, In other words, we are spirit souls, and we need to start addressing that reality, because we're so stuck in the material, and I'm the body, and now my body's, paralyzed or, incapacitated and so on, but you can work with what you got kind of thing, and
Exactly.
get something out of this world from another way, So I want to inspire you to get, your happiness from just being you. All right, just you. Not trying to achieve some great goals, which you can't do now, but just be yourself and so on. But eventually it has to go beyond that, because that is limited. It's a limiting philosophy.
Well, it is.
And it's good as far as it goes, but it's very limited, and it's based on a misconception or an untruth that, I'm this body.
Exactly.
We have to go.
Because you do the best that you can with that body, and they say like, okay, so you lose your legs, okay, you do Paralympics, and you're just as good now because now you can perform in that way. You're just as good because of your body, basically, because you can still like.
And the mind has become stronger and able to overcome, this upset,
Exactly.
This unexpected upset,
But
a challenge that I met and I dealt with, and now, da-da-da.
But there's more.
But the spirit soul needs spiritual love, spiritual life, spiritual truth, see. So all the things we call life is just a temporary solution, which isn't really a solution. It's an attempt to be truly happy and truly satisfied from a material source. Whether the body's perfect and I achieve all the goals I set, or it's imperfect in so many different ways. It's still the same. I'm still using this material world as my means to be happy, see, and my place in it, and my ability to function in it successfully, successfully. But all that comes to an end, and I have to leave this body, Well, now, whether that body's one way or another way, I am still the same person. And if I have just focused my whole attention on this world and this body and, my accomplishments or lack thereof or whatever, relationships that are temporary and on, then I have to just take another birth in another material body, which is also temporary. It's also filled with, defects, and it's also going to cause me trouble, and just stay on the wheel of birth and death and go through the whole scenario again, and then again, and yet again, and yet again. So they use the example of the squirrel on the wheel or the hamster on the wheel. It just runs, and goes nowhere, because, I'm not really going anywhere. I, the spirit soul, I'm still not really going anywhere. Maybe I change rooms, in the big hotel of life, but I'm just in another room. And maybe it's a better room. Maybe it's not as good a room for my material enjoyment, you see. Maybe I've got less facility. Maybe my, awareness is much more dull, like the person in a tree body is close to being unconscious, compared to, say, a person in a human body. That's why they're so tolerant. I mean, you can, basically do anything to a tree and it doesn't even protest.
Just like you.
It doesn't.
Like an unconscious person wouldn't.
It doesn't really have any facility to defend itself, except what nature's given it. Some trees give off a certain odor to keep the bugs away, and some have really thick bark. So when the forest fire comes through, it doesn't burn them up. But that's just nature's arrangement. It gave them that protection, see. But, it's not the goal for the soul, see. That's where the Vedic understanding comes in and is so superior. Not only does it tell us what life is, it's us, it's our eternal identity, but what is the point? What is the purpose?
Exactly.
See, because life is eternal, so is the purpose just existence?
Well, because like it said in the scientific article, like the word life might be better cast as a verb to reflect its essential status as a process. Like it's a
Yeah, is it just to exist?
What is that process? Yeah, just to like maintain itself without...
Yeah. And this article and most of the scientists and so on, they don't even include the concept of reincarnation and the wheel of birth and death and just going through the next life and, in another body, it's displaying the symptoms and whatever, was described in the article, and then the next one. And, but is that what the soul's real destination should be? Is that why we exist? And the answer is no, it's not. And so the Vedic knowledge starts putting forth the ideas of beyond the material world, beyond the wheel of birth and death, beyond the world of the senses and the sense pleasures and the mind and the intelligence and the amazing abilities to speculate and figure things out or not, depending on what body I'm in. It goes beyond all of this and begins to funnel or provide us with information about the spiritual world, see? And, this is described very clearly, our real home.
Which we know
see?
Nothing about.
We call home the house I live in. Yeah, I mean, you're living in your home. This is my home. But really, if you look at it, a big picture, the material world is our home, on the large scale, as long as we have this material consciousness and identify in the material way and try to find our happiness in the material world with material desires that we try to fulfill, and et cetera, et cetera. So really, that's our temporary home. It's not a real home. See, our real home is in the spiritual world. In other words, this is our real place of being, our real place of existence. This is the soul's natural home. And it makes sense. I mean, doesn't that sound right?
Yeah.
Spirit, soul in the spiritual world?
Yeah.
Well, that sounds right. That connects. Spirit, soul in the material world. Doesn't really sound correct.
Like a fish out of water.
But we try to make it work, you see. You can put the two together, but it never really, mixes. Like oil and water. You can put the two together, but they never really mix. There's two separate things here. Spirit, soul encompassed or surrounded by material energy. Yeah. And there's two contradictions here. Eternal soul in a temporary world. So no matter what your perspective is, we're always struggling against time. The time factor, see. And the time factor in the material world, as described by the Lord in Bhagavad Gita, of subduers, I am time. Time subdues everything. See, we can't overcome time. You can't stop time.
No.
But people are trying to do that. The scientists are saying, well, how can we defeat aging?
Yeah, exactly.
You see, maybe there's a gene that we can find and understand. If we do this and that with that, then we can defeat aging. And on and on and on it goes. But reality is they'll never be successful.
Just as I will never be successful in inventing, putting together matter and making life.
Well, they never have been, and they say that's where life came from. But of course that's an absurdity. Life comes from life, and that's what we see everywhere. A living organism creates another living organism. Right?
Yeah.
That means a soul in this body coming together with an appropriate soul in another body produce offspring.
Yeah.
It doesn't, like a dead tree doesn't give life to another tree.
No.
A dead body, you can have a morgue full of corpses, male and female, equal numbers of each, but they never reproduce. You don't open up the vault one day and look inside and there's a baby, Oh. It just doesn't work like that. Life comes from life, So that's how we have to accept life is the source of life. And life comes from the source of everything, and that's the supreme life. And this is a difficult subject for so many people, which it shouldn't be. It should be an open subject. It should be, an exciting subject that we want to, not only take in and accept, but embrace.
Yeah.
It should be.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But unfortunately, as we go further and further away from the truth, into our new reality of matter, we reject it. We feel uncomfortable with it.
Yeah, and it's been so contaminated. That idea has been it's kind of been stolen. Just like, so many things when we do webinars or we market our things, like we can't even use the word happiness because they've stolen that concept, and it feels like we can't even use it anymore because people think they know what that means when you say that word.
Yeah, it means sensual pleasure.
Exactly.
You give a lecture, happiness, or where is happiness to be found?
Yeah.
And they come expecting you to give them some insight into how they can enjoy their senses in a way that they don't know about yet.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Maybe
you got some secret. Maybe you got some drug. Maybe you got some exercises. Maybe you got some secret place that they can go to, something that they haven't discovered yet that you have, and therefore you can turn them on to that.
Exactly.
And when they hear what we're really saying, they're disappointed.
Well, you have a secret, but it's not what they think.
Yeah, like, I didn't come here for that. You didn't tell me anything I wanted to hear.
But that's exactly what I was going to say the last podcast, and I didn't have time. Like, any honest person would say, I want to know the truth, and I don't care if it's blue, white, black, up and down. I just want to know the truth. And that's like, I'm not satisfied with anything else. And whatever the truth is, that's what I'm going to be looking for. I mean, shouldn't that, like, that's science as well. That's a scientific approach. Like, I don't care about what anyone said before or what I believed before. We're going to investigate what the reality is, and I'm going to follow that. Like, I'm going to accept that when I find the proof that is providing me, like, in that specific direction. The same with this concept.
Yeah, but if we start approaching it with, you got to prove it to me, then our proof, vehicle or mechanism is some kind of proof that I can perceive with my senses or mind.
Yeah.
And spiritual truth is not subject to that experimentation, really.
Yeah.
And therefore, you're prone to say, well, it's not true. You didn't prove it. So, that's the way many people approach the subject of God, supreme being. Can you prove there is a God? Show me proof. Like in the laboratory, look under the microscope and there's proof that this is that, or look through the telescope and there's proof.
Yeah.
You see, and they're thinking that you can prove the unknowable spirit in this way, and you can't. God is only known through devotional service. It's declared again and again and again in many, many different scriptures of truth. God is only known through devotional service. When you please God, He reveals Himself. So He's the one who decides who He allows to know Him or not know Him. He's not a static personality that I can just, climb some ladder
like a mountain
break through His doors and, find some way to film Him from a drone or whatever. In other words, He's not subject to our invasion.
Yeah.
You see, He's the one who holds all the cards. And He can reveal Himself to those who approach Him with humility and love and devotion. And then He reveals Himself to them, see, in their heart or otherwise. It's up to Him, see. Or He doesn't reveal Himself. So the person who's coming there with arrogance, I'm going to find you, prove to me you exist, if you're real, show me, this kind of arrogant approach, they'll always be defeated. They will never see God.
Exactly. And they think that they have the proof then. They think that they're proven.
So that's the proof there is no God. You see.
Well,
So, it's a whole nother approach that, many people are not even interested in. Humility is not a real popular subject.
no.
Going lower is not a real, direction people are trying to go in. It's arrogance. It's being bigger and better and, more dynamic and more self-assertive and, just I'm the guy kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
And anybody that's humble, then the strong see that as a weakness.
Yeah.
Humility is seen as a weakness, and they try to just overpower them or exploit them or sweep them under the rug or whatever they decide to do with them, you see. But actually those who are truly humble, have defeated these people over the years,
Exactly.
Because our idea of humility is some little mouse, that's shy and timid and afraid and, peeks out of his hole in the wall, And when he sees any movement of anybody or anything, runs back in and hides.
Yeah.
And they think that's humility. I don't want to be like that,
Yeah.
But most humble means humble in front of the Supreme Person. You see, humble in regards to what? In regard to the Supreme Lord. He is known as the greatest, the most wonderful, and natural feeling of humility occurs
In that relationship.
in that relationship.
Because
We've talked about the mountaineer on the mountain, in the middle of nowhere, and he feels humbled by the mountain or by nature in general.
Exactly.
The vast expanse of the ocean or the sky or the mountains or whatever, because here's something so much bigger than I am, and really so much more powerful than I am.
Yeah.
No matter how powerful I may be, this is much, much more so.
Yeah. Which were
and so it just creates a feeling of humility.
Yeah. Which is natural when you're in that environment, which we're more and more removed from as well, to get back to what you said before,
Yeah.
It's our natural.
And with that feeling of humility also comes respect.
Exactly.
See? So these true nature people, outdoor people, whether they're mountaineers or surfers or skiers or whatever they are, they also have respect for the mountain and respect for nature and respect for the creation. And some of them even take it to the, level which it should go to, is respect for the Creator.
Yeah.
I mean, they start understanding this just didn't happen from nothing.
Exactly.
Their experience is so profound and so purifying that they start understanding there's a perfect Creator behind this.
Yeah.
Without His creation, I would not be able to experience what I'm experiencing from the creation.
Yeah.
So they develop a higher respect, and maybe awakened, interest in coming closer to that. And they don't know what it is. They may call it energy. Many times, some do, some don't. They may call it energy. They may call it a superior force. They may call it whatever, And then they may go, more and more and learn that there's a person behind the energy and behind the force or behind, that unlimited dimension.
Yeah, I saw the video that you tipped me about, that you said that I could watch, the one about journey reward. Journey is larger than the reward. That's what it's called. That's a good example of two people that are really, what's his name? Jeremy.
It's the journey, and the reward will be there. You take the journey, you get the reward. And again, that's spiritual life. Let's start the journey. It's an unknown journey, and we don't know where it's going. Information is available, but let's say we're not either exposed to that, or we're not ready to just accept that. But let's start the journey. Let's move one step at a time. Because we're all on a journey, aren't we? I mean, nobody can say they're not on a journey. Journey through time is automatic.
Because you
can't get off.
The clock is constantly new day. Comes and goes.
So we're on a journey. So let's just make it a real productive journey. And that's again what we're trying to encourage people to do.
Yeah.
And
exactly.
Just like in your Hatha yoga programs, I mean, you're encouraging them to begin another journey.
Yeah.
Or the same journey, but another direction.
Yeah.
You know.
True. take a new direction. And many people take to the process. Well, many people think it's like the video that you have about the bridge of change. Many people look at that change and they just like say, "Oh, that's not for me. That's too complicated. I'm too stiff. I can't do that. Like I can't start even." And some people they try to do it a little bit, but there's not enough excitement. I don't, it's too like it's same thing, and it's not like it's not for me. But a few people really, like you say, they take it. And
well, another point you just brought up in my mind, you said it's not enough excitement. And this is a problem. This is a big problem. And I'll tell you what the problem is. We've been so overstimulated, that, everything has to be so stimulating and so exciting, for the mind and the senses. See, we're so wrapped up in the external that we've lost contact with the internal.
Yeah.
The simpler things, the quieter things. We're looking for the, rush, the bang, the fireworks, the sense overload.
Yeah.
I remember reading, some years ago, one person who makes ski movies, extreme ski movies.
Yeah.
He said, it's almost gone past what we can do.
Yeah.
Because the audience has become what used to be amazing. Like I can remember back in 80s, the early to mid to late 80s, and maybe even into the early 90s. What would be called the simplest things, like there was a guy, and he was one of the founding extreme sport skiing athletes.
Mm.
And he was jumping off cliffs at Squaw Valley, California, and it was being filmed, and you were just going, wow, man, look at that, and, in, various movies, he would be starred, and that was his main thing, jumping off of cliffs, and Scott Smith was his name.
Like in winter and snow and dropping, sort of?
Yeah, skiing.
Okay.
Yeah, just skiing off. Yeah. And so we were just, really, really excited about that. That was so dynamic, so entertaining, so extreme.
Yeah.
And if you watched that same movie now, it would be so ho-hum.
Exactly. Exactly.
Oh man, is that all you can do?
Exactly.
I mean, the guy wouldn't even get an honorable mention anywhere, So that's what this guy was saying. Things have gone so far, and actually in a relatively short period of time, that the audience, to make a movie that's attractive to the audience, you got to put the athletes in such extreme danger.
Exactly.
To even make people take notice.
Yeah.
And he didn't like doing that. He felt, like I don't want to be the guy who's doing this.
Yeah. Mm.
But if I'm going to continue in this profession, that's the direction I have to take, and the athletes have to step it up and be willing to take that risk.
Wow.
And so they had to start paying the athletes more money, of course, and
where does it
end? The whole
end?
thing.
There's no end.
And where does it end? More deaths and more broken bodies, and a guy goes and risks his life, to entertain a crowd of guys who don't know him or care about him, So anyway, the point is that our senses have become so overstimulated and so jaded that when you start talking about internal happiness, they can't even relate, Like, there's nothing going on there. Yeah. It's like boring. Yeah. This is boring. Like, you got anything else? Got any drugs I can take to kind of help me through this? Maybe I can fire it up a bit. Yeah. So, that's a problem in society today. And so instead of going to that inner quiet place, you know, we don't want to go to that inner quiet place, you know. So we just go into the depths of depression,
Exactly.
you know, and the dark place. I mean, nature, you know, I mean, look where you live. Come on. And, you know, any of us who've spent a lot of time out there know there's such a feeling in nature that you can't get in the city or wherever. And if you're by yourself or with a few close friends, it's even more so, right? But many people go to nature and they don't even want to go or see no reason to go if they can't bring their cooler full of alcohol. They can't bring their boom box.
Exactly.
If they got to have a cell phone connection.
Exactly.
You know, and all of this city stimulant,
Exactly.
you know, craziness. And if they don't have that, they won't. Why go?
Yeah, they're like bringing their bubble, their world into that world, trying to like.
Yeah.
But why would you want to remain in that world? Why would you? I mean, that's why you go to nature, because you want to get out of that world. You want to get to that.
See, but they don't know what to do out there.
Yeah.
It's too quiet. It's too peaceful. It's too nice. You know.
We don't.
I remember this close friend of mine, and she was living in. Where was she living at that time? I think Boston or New York. And she came out to visit, and, you know, the first night, you know, she couldn't sleep. You know, we were camping. It was like wonderful. You know, she couldn't. I said, how did you sleep? And I couldn't go to sleep. It was too quiet.
Oh, wow.
You know, too quiet.
Wow.
She's used to traffic and sirens and, you know, all the normal things in the city. And out there where there was just nothing, you know, she couldn't sleep.
It's like you're so conditioned by the material world and all the experiences you have here that you can't really enjoy the real deal.
Yeah. So when you start talking about people going into a spiritual dimension or taking a spiritual journey, you know, it's like, ho hum, well, okay, I'm doing this. You know, but our process, as we know, is, you know, really fun because we chant a lot. You know, we're singing, we're dancing. It's like a party, which people, you know, love parties, you see. But, you know, it's a spiritual party.
Yeah.
You know, spiritual sound vibration, the mantras, you know, amazing camaraderie. You know, people like to dance. The music is, you know, sometimes very, very dance music. You know,
and the friendship on that level is completely different. Like I really just again and again like feel that I can be myself among those people that live like this.
You're not trying to show off and be somebody. And maybe in the beginning you come and you're trying to be cool and show people, you know, your cool moves.
Of course.
You know, whatever. But, you know, pretty soon you realize that you don't care. They don't care.
No.
You know, they're not there for you and your moves, you know. They're tapped into a higher source, you know, and that's where they are, and they're glorifying, you know, the Lord through transcendental sound and dancing, and so you just kind of, you know, have to understand, and you get into it, you know, because you know you're surrounded by a different energy in all ways, the people's attitudes and the transcendental sound itself, and the whole purpose, and it just has an amazing result.
Well, which brings us maybe to the end of the discussion in terms of transcendental sound being life itself, which may be something that
transcendental sound is life itself, and let me explain why. You know, because the origin of life is the supreme life, the supreme person.
Mm-hmm.
Without life, we're talking about a person here. There's no such thing as impersonal life. Life is personal, although, you know, one can see it as an impersonal force, and that's another whole subject. You know, but really, the source of all of that is the supreme life, the supreme person, you know. So the material world, everything there in this absolute realm, is the opposite of the material world. We've said that many times. So the name of the object and the object is the same in the spiritual world, in the absolute world.
Mm-hmm.
There's not a separation between the name and the object.
Yeah.
Whereas in the material world, it's completely a separation. They're not the same.
Yeah.
You see. In other words, the name banana and the object banana are different. So if I'm hungry and I actually have a taste for a banana, I want a banana right now. I can go banana, 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 banana till I go bananas and I'm still not fulfilled. I didn't get any food here. You see, I got to go get that object banana, peel it,
Exactly.
and eat it. That's the banana.
Banana is a symbol, like the name is a symbol of the thing.
Yeah, it's a description, a symbol.
Yeah.
You know, it's a nomenclature that's been placed on that particular fruit.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's different. It's separate. Whereas in the spiritual world, the name of the object is the object. So the mantras we chant are names of the Supreme Lord. He's non-different than his name. The Lord is the source of life. Therefore, his name is life itself. Therefore, when I come in contact with this life, this transcendental sound, I receive life. I get enlivened. This is life. And that's why one who is more sensitive or more receptive to or, open to this truth actually experiences life from that transcendental sound,
Yeah.
And that's life. And it's eternal. It doesn't go away. You see, it's not because I project life onto it. We say it's a live band. Oh, there's a live band playing tonight. It's not a recorded sound. It's live. I can go watch that. I'm projecting. It's happening right now. I'm projecting, pleasure on it or whatever, see?
Wow.
But the other department I'm referring to, transcendental sound, is not projected life. I'm not projecting anything here. It's there. It's present. And it has its effect.
Wow.
I don't make it work. You see? And it's all purifying. I don't make it work. I don't have to think it's purifying me.
Exactly.
It is automatically so. I don't have to think that the sun is having its effect on me. See? It is. That's why we get sunburned.
Yeah.
I'm going to think the sun won't burn me today, so I'm not going to use any sunscreen. I'm going out. It's going to be a very bright day on snow. It's going to reflect, but it's no worry because I'm thinking it won't burn me. It burns you anyway.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with what I think.
A friend of mine, he was it just reminded me about it. He was doing research on glaciers in north of Canada, and he said the sun was so strong in the middle of summer when he was on this glacier that first of all, they burnt the inside of the nose, and second of all, the inside of the eyelids. So even though you'd have sunglasses, a little bit of sun would seep through the bottom.
Wow.
It would burn, the upside of your eyelids would burn.
Wow. That's intense. Wow.
just thought about it now.
Yeah.
Wow.
So the potency is automatically in the sun, and the potency is automatically in transcendental sound. And that's life. But you've got to be a little receptive, you see, to experience that. It's not that it's not working, but you've got to have a little extra, perception, and that comes from purification. Yeah, I know our time's running out, so.
Yeah, we should have a little kirtan and just end it like we usually do. It's nice.
Yeah.
Feel free to No? What were you going to
It's
say?
just funny how time goes so quickly. You know?
I know. We were thinking of having 2 topics today, but we're going to save because we have a lot of like loose threads in the terms of sensitivity. You said like being hard-skinned. We might need to be hard-skinned to deal with this world, and we're overstimulated. So it just leads me into the track of what we're going to speak about next week, which is sensitivity, and the benefits of being sensitive, and how we deal with it in this world.
Yeah. Okay, so our mantra is always, because it's simple, we don't want to do anything complicated. It's simple. 2 words, Goranga and Haribo. And all you have to do is listen when I chant and then repeat. Just repeat whatever I chant. And I have my friends here at Chintamani Studio. They'll be repeating, responding to my chanting, and you just chant with them. And of course, Ruben will be chanting as well.
Chanting as well.
And just try to, let's say, enter into the sound, or just kind of not think about all these things. Just one thing. Goranga Haribo. Haribo. Goranga. Hey. Haribo, Goranga, Goranga, Haribo. 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 Hare Haribo. Well, Haribo, Goranga, Goranga, Haribo. Haribo, Goranga, Goranga, Haribo. Hare Haribo. Haribo. Goranga Haribo. Haribo. Goranga Haribo. Haribo.
Haribo.
Okay, so that is Sankirtan. Sankirtan is congregational chanting. 2 or more people come together and chant the mantras. And it's fun.
Easy, fun, enjoyable.
Yeah, easy fun.
Yeah.
So that's what we do. We do that a lot. We chant on a daily basis. And, we entertain these truths and try to, implement them in our life. And life becomes, very different, very simple. Hey, why not?
Simple living, high thinking.
Simple living, high thinking. That's a Vedic axiom that, if taken to heart, will certainly make a difference. Simple living and high thinking.
Cool.
Okay, Ruben, I've got to depart and leave that North Tromsø beautiful setting.
Yeah, I'm gonna send you, because I did a hiking trip 2 days ago or 1 day ago. Yeah, I told you. So I'm gonna send you, we made some little video for you so you have some more scenery to enjoy.
Oh, great. Yeah, we're going out tomorrow and try to spend the day in the mountains. Yeah, it's going to be cold. It's going to be snowing. It's going to be foggy, and it's going to be great.
Cold, foggy, snowing, great. Oh yeah, that's what normally most people wouldn't call that fun. My dad is like, why would you like voluntarily go out and torture yourself? He says when I say something like that. Yeah. Well, good, nice.
Okay, so again, thank you very much, and we'll be back next week.
We'll be back next week. Thanks to all. Thanks to everyone joining. Thanks to our technicians. So that's what we had for today. Now get out there and make that change that you're longing for. Apply this knowledge, help others, and live a life that is truly worth living. And remember to stay true to yourself, dare to break trail.